train is a slowly coming. I gotta keep on. All right, now, welcome everybody to the monthly Deadbeat Dad Conference. To discuss the happenings of our so-called offspring, the skeet that got away, our children.
Yeah, I mean, to me, is kind of the one that we're not present, right? That we're absent, the black absentee father.
Not only are you not in their life, not only do you see them maybe 3 times a year, twice a year, if even that.
Statistically, that's not even accurate, right? So, but that's a perception because that's what's painted, in Hollywood and in the media. That's what you're going to see. A lot of black stories gonna have a single mother, this raising her child, and the father is just not in the picture at all. But the reality is that, and especially what I see, I've been coaching youth sports really well for a long time, so many years, and since I've been involved in that, whether the parents are together or not, they may show up to the gym and sit on the other end of the gym, but the father is still there. Like, he's still actively showing up to games. The father is still actively, going to school or going to the school for parent teacher conferences. A father will pull me aside and be like, "Hey, coach, man, he got in trouble at school, man. You need to run him in practice, or whatever the case may be." But black fathers they're there. Like, of course you're gonna have, absentee fathers of any culture, right?
Right.
But it's like, statistically it's less prevalent with black fathers, right?
Yes.
But in my experience, anecdotal experience, black fathers are present, whether they're with the mother or they're not with the mother, they're present. So. One of the I guess challenges for black fathers is just as black men society is set up against us. Child support might hit me a little differently if I'm financially secure than it's going to hit somebody who is trying to make it, they trying to do the right thing, or somebody that may already have something on their background which is creating issues for them. It's going to hit those people a little bit differently, right?
Right.
And so, like, that's one of the biggest challenges, because you have that, and then the child support system, I think, needs to be revamped.
Parnell is a wanted man because he refuses to do what the state orders and pay child support for a child that DNA tests prove isn't his, a child he doesn't even know.
And then you have a situation also where it's so difficult for a good father to gain custody of his kids from a bad mother.
Action News did a story in October 2018 when Amari's mother left him alone in her car while she went to work at a dialysis center.
Like, to me, that is also a challenge in the system that needs to be updated. And I've seen mothers use the kids and the system against good fathers.
Now confused after his mother walked in to surrender to U.S. Marshals. For several months, there has been a warrant out for her arrest in Georgia for custodial interference.
That are trying to do the right thing and trying to be there for their children.
This is the fight that the system has in place for men, especially black men, good men who have no criminal records, no criminal histories. As you can see, this is my son.
So I think those are some of the things that are that's kind of stacked the deck against black fathers.
What are you doing? Maybe this will help. Dad! What are you doing? Stop! Are you serious? Dad! Okay, God damn it! Knock it off!
So I would say, for number one, make sure it's something that you really are passionate about, you really want to do. And that's number one, because it can be cutthroat. Just the reality of it. I mean, youth sports has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so some people will look at these kids like dollar signs, and they're not in it for, they're not in it for your child's well-being, right? But I would say as a coach, you have to really be passionate about the kids and passionate about making sure that you're doing right by all the kids. It would be easy to say, oh, my kid's on the team, so they're gonna be the starting point guard, or they're gonna be the quarterback, or whatever the case may be, right? But you have to realize that when you take on the responsibility of coaching kids, you're taking on the responsibility of coaching all the kids and developing all of them, and not just in a sport, but as young men and women, right? So you got to make sure that you're doing that. You also got to understand that your life is going to be under a microscope. So you can't be, there's a lot of jokes that run around amongst the coaches down here in Dallas about, the mom whose kid is little Timmy who can't really play, but the mom is banging. So, you're like giving him private lessons and you're like, he's starting, So you got to make sure that, you walk up right and you don't, cause you don't fall into any traps, so to speak as well. So,
I imagine the single moms be like,
right.
How can I get my son some extra PT?
right. But man, it's a blessing, man. Like I say, it's a blessing. On the more functional tip, time management, because you have to, especially if you have a family, you have to make sure that, you can get wrapped up because you start loving all the kids, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you got to remember, you got your own family at home, you got your spouse at home, and you can't let that suffer and not dedicate time there, the time that you need to dedicate there. It'd be crazy if you save the world and then your whole household fall apart, so that's
so. Let me ask you this, man, because this is my sport. Because of course I'm an English professor, and I know the worst thing in the world is when I have to work with my sons with essays and that sort of thing. It drives me nuts. I'm like, damn it, put the sentence together right. I'm like, subject, verb, object, that sort of thing. But when you're coaching and that sort of thing, have you had moments where you're like, look, son, come and sit down on the bench? And how does that play out at dinner later on?
Oh, yeah, of course. So, yeah, man, like, my wife, Tiffany, she used to laugh at me all the time because she could tell when I was getting frustrated because I would do this. I jump up and down real quick. And I tell him, I said, man, get over here and sit down, man. Sit down and think about it, And he used to get kind of frustrated, but I think I've had some conversations with him where I told him, look, man, like, I'm only hard on you because I know what you can do and I know what you're capable of. When other people don't see the hours that we put in outside of practice or that we're putting in. So I know what you're capable of. And so, I'll be hard on you for that reason. But I'm also hard on you because people got to know that every minute you get, you earn. Like, they got to know that you're not getting time because you're coach's son. You're getting time because you deserve to be on the floor. So I think he gets it. But yeah, man, like, I have those moments all the time. Like, bro, what are you doing? I have them all the time.
Has he tried to beat you on the court yet?
Oh yeah, he swears up and down. He's like, Dad, I can beat you. I'm like, okay, so what are the rules? Okay, you can only shoot from half court. He got all these crazy rules, right? You can't dribble with your right hand. He got all these rules. So I'm like, bro, you cannot beat me. I'm like, when you get a little bigger, maybe, but it's gonna be a long time. So there are a couple of things, right? So one is get your children, sons and daughters, involved in understanding the value of $1.
I give you $5 for the whole lawn with not one leaf on it.
$5. Man, that ain't shit.
Like, whether it's paying bills, understanding like when you want something, there's an opportunity cost, right? So when I talk to my kids all the time, I'm like, okay, so you may want these shoes, but what are that means you're giving up something else, right? Mm-hmm. So just kind of helping them to start understanding the value of $1. And I mean, like, from as early as possible, talking to them about the importance of saving, right? one thing, we from St. Louis, right?
Right.
So one thing that Nelly said in an interview that stuck with me a long time ago, he said, he lives by the $3 rule. For every $3 that he makes, $1 he invests it, $1 he puts it in savings, and $1 he spends it on whatever he wants to spend it on.
Wow.
And if you live by that rule, you'll never be broke. Your money will be making money for you, and you'll still be satisfied because you don't want to be like a slave to savings, right? You still got to live and enjoy life. So you don't want to be a slave to savings, but you just, you have to be smart about your spending. So those are things that I'll talk to my kids about. I'll talk to them about ownership, the importance of ownership, and tell them that, while money is important, self-fulfillment and happiness is also important, right? So you have to make sure that as you're establishing your goals for the future, as far as what you want to do with your life, see if you can find ways to make money doing something you love and working for yourself. Like, that's, I talked to them about that. But as far as, I would say, make sure you're teaching kids the value of dollars, the value of saving. Teaching kids, like, for example, as far as investing, you can start investing for your children and your kids like certain things that, like, they like Nikes, or they like Beyblades, or they like PlayStation, iPhone, whatever. Start teaching them to buy ownership in these companies that they like, you really like, and you don't have to, people be like, oh well, it costs too much money to get involved in this, but kids are getting birthday money, they're getting money to just go out or go to the mall and just start getting, setting them up now, because over time they'll look up and they are financially set before they're even really getting started in life.
Man, that's awesome advice. I would, it's some advice that I hope that young dads will take advantage of, and certainly something that I wish I would have started much younger. But hey, I guess it's
all
never
of us
too late to start, So, man, so thank you again for that advice, because one of the things that we as dads want to do, we want to make sure that we are providers and we're doing the best thing we can, but not only just providing them, giving them the Jordans and that sort of thing, but like you said, teaching them the value of saving, investing, and entrepreneurship.